Kitty with Gardening Simplified here again, and it's January 10th, and I've just got in some figs. I've got 4 new varieties. I've got a black Madeira, I've got a Peter's Honey, I've got a Magnolia, and I got a Conadria. And so I've got 3 of each of these, and what I'm going to do is be potting these up. Now I'm going to use my regular method that I've been using for a while. On this batch, I'm just going to use a regular potting soil. I am going to pot these in a pretty good sized pot. And I'm just going to make a hole in here in the center. I don't particularly want to go all the way to the bottom. Now this is not real moist potting soil, but it'll work just fine. Now wet the bottom of this a little bit. I'm going to get me some rooting hormone put on there. Now what I've done prior to starting the video here, I have wrapped them all in paraffin, the part that's going to be up, so I don't have to worry about the moisture on it, keeping it moist. I did do scraping on both sides of the bottom. You want to make sure you've got a couple of nodes in the ground for rooting, to see if we can make it more successful as far as the test. Let's see how well this sticks with. That looks like that's sticking pretty good without any water. Better get us another pot over here. At Povey's Organic Farm, what we're doing is we're trying to get more fruit, more fruit in here as far as the farm here. We have some peaches, some apples, and some figs, but we don't have a big variety, and we don't really have an overabundance. So what we're trying to do is create a situation where we have both. Now a lot of this stuff that I use is recycled. This carrier, these came from a nursery that's nearby that they had a bunch, and of course they want to get rid of them because it's not like they carry them back. Now they're not made for over and over use, but they do okay for what I do, and it makes it easy to carry 8 of these at a time. Now I do want to make sure I put a tag in each one of these as I go along, because it will be easy to confuse these in the end. We'll go ahead and get another one here. Get this last Conadria rooted up. This particular variety, it was one that I had got from a seller that was selling 3 varieties at once. One particular that I wanted was the Peter's Honey. It's a really large fig, and it's for a large fig. I mean, this one is just smaller than a tennis ball, which, as figs go, that is definitely a large fig. And it tastes like honey, so it ought to be a really good one. I don't just want to collect a lot of figs that have the same flavor. Now this one here, the Magnolia, is actually, Magnolia is one of the names that was given. It's not its actual name. There's two others, and I think Brunswick is the actual variety that is. It'd come over here, and I think a dealer that was selling them down here in Texas decided to name them after the Magnolia. A lot of people sell that variety, or they'll list both names, but like I say, that's not the name that was originally given to it. Now when you're doing figs, normally fig cuttings this size to pencil size are really good. What you need to do is make sure that you kind of try to keep them in there. Now these little ones like this, now this will most likely root, but it's not the best for fig cuttings. I'm not going to complain about the size. The seller that was selling these was selling 2 of each, and he actually sent 3 of each, so I'm kind of pleased with that, and hopefully I won't have any losses, but it's always good to have those extra cuttings. Now I've been putting these out in the greenhouse after I get finished with them, and I'd like to collect a lot more figs. I have somebody local that has one variety I don't have, and they said that they'd give me a cutting from it, so that will be great. That'll give me another variety. It's a good fig for flavor, as far as that's what they tell me anyway. So, and figs can vary quite a bit on flavor. A lot have a flavor that's similar, and so if you're going to grow figs, you might want to search around and find out about it. There's a lot of YouTubers that specialize in a lot of different kinds of figs, and they take and they do fig tastings, and a lot of them will describe the flavor to them, and then they rate them as far as, and it's their opinion, no doubt, but they can give you an idea of which fig. Now the black Madeira, the cuttings tend to be a little bit more expensive, but they tend to be exceptional on flavor, and so that's one thing to consider whenever you're getting a fig. Okay, looks like we got 4 more here. And that, as we say now, the Peter's honey. This, I'm really looking forward to this because it's supposed to have a real good rich honey flavor. So that's going to make a difference. Now a lot of people, whenever they do these, now you don't have to wrap this in parafilm. You can use like the clear plastic storage bins, and the best way that I see is they put a thin layer of mulch, some shredded mulch in the bottom, say 1 inch, and then they'll put these containers directly on it, and a lot of times they'll pack mulch around and they'll put mulch on top. They won't wrap with parafilm. And they water these in good, and there might be extra water in that tote, but it's down in the mulch on the bottom, so you don't worry about it keeping your cutting saturated. And if you didn't push it all the way down in the bottom of your container, it's up a little out of that moisture, so it's not going to rot your cutting. You have that lid on there, and you can kind of watch it and watch the humidity on it. Now normally figs root pretty quick. Now I'm not going to say how long it's going to take for them to show roots on the side of this, or even on the bottom. A lot of times once you plant something, you can turn it up, you can look at the bottom, and you can see part of the roots. And when you see that, that definitely lets you know that you have a good root system, and it's ready to go in the ground. Now, the one thing you don't want to do, now I'm going to put these in my greenhouse. You don't really want them in strong sunlight. So if you're doing them early in the year, and some people do them, you know, just as the trees start leafing out and stuff, and you can do that. If you do them early in the year like that, you can put them underneath a tree. The shade of a tree works real well. Now these are going in the greenhouse, so they're going to be outside, but the greenhouse has 40% shade cloth, so with that shade cloth it's going to keep the sun out. And really you're not intending to heat these up a bunch, because if you, now some people put bottom heat, which would be fine, and they say it stimulates the roots, but I think they'll root just fine. Plants usually spend the cooler season putting out the roots, so this time of year it's fine if you're just going to do it that way. This ought to make some really nice fig trees. And the thing about figs are, these fig trees here that I have, and if they're well taken care of, I'll be eating figs off of these this year. And if you're looking for some kind of fruit that is good, if you hadn't eaten figs, now if you live up north in one of these cooler zones, you need to watch some of your fig varieties, because they won't do well at all in the cold. Now down here, last year we got down to -7. Every one of my figs ended up taking and freezing back to the ground. They come back out from the rootstock, which that's not uncommon for us. When you get further down into zone 9, a lot of times they don't have that problem. So a lot of people try to grow their figs with a single stem. That's something that in zone 8, zone 8B, where I'm at, we're not even going to try, because what's going to happen is you're going to have that nice beautiful tree, and then whenever it gets to freezing, and you're not going to be able to cover it, because a lot of these trees get pretty tall unless you just really make an effort to keep them short. But they are going to die back, and if they're in containers, they need to be gotten in, because if you freeze the roots on a lot of them, then they won't come back. When they're in the ground, they do fine, but I had some that I had propagated 2-3 years ago that were in containers, and they were doing great. Just nice big cuttings. I mean, they were going to be in some nice trees, and it got to freeze and I wasn't paying attention, and they were sitting on a pallet out in the yard in their containers, and big gallon containers, or a gallon and a half, and they ended up freezing, and it killed all but 3. I had 7, and it killed all but 3, and one of them didn't do too well after it was put out. It didn't survive. So realize this, these figs, they'll do good, and if you're trying to grow a single fig tree, and the thing about figs too is they graft real easy. So if you're limited on space, you can grow a whole lot of varieties of figs from from one main trunk. But like I say, it needs to be somewhere where it's protected, because if it is out there and it freezes back, well, you're going to only come back with whatever the original rootstock was. But anyway, I hope this gives you a little more information on figs, and in fact, I hope it encourages to start growing you some fruit. And if it does, let me know down in the comments, or if you do grow figs and you have other varieties besides these, you can let me know. And of course, if you want to see more, hit that subscribe. If you haven't already, hit the bell button and give it a big thumbs up and share this video. Happy gardening.